you know that communication basically is only 7% linked to words, which means that what you're saying will only be retained through 7%. People will not remember more than 7% of what you're saying. So 93% depend on your nonverbal. I'm going to give you an example. If you say, yes, darling, I love you, the person in front of me might understand the contrary, because the tone of my voice, facial expression is showing the contrary of what I'm saying. So nonverbal will always be linked with what I'm saying and will always be detected by others.
Welcome to Transformation Talk. I'm Tairu Hassan, the Director of Brightline at the Project Management Institute. And our talk today would be about situational intelligence. And in this talk, we'll explore two necessary tools for leaders to adapt and increase resilience in times of change. Situational intelligence helps find inner resources in uncertain times. And the talk will also introduce the notion of key behavioral indicators that are used today in order to understand how to scale harmonious relationship in the professional world. And we are really privileged to welcome Guila Clara Kessous, who is a PhD and executive coach and UNESCO Artist for Peace. Gila, in January 2012, Gila was appointed as UNESCO Artist for Peace, dedicated to promoting and defending human rights through the power of art. She is also committed to gender equality. And as a member of Harvard University Affiliate Institute of Coaching, Gila has coached over 500 senior executives and managers for 15 years in leading change and strategy development. Her research focused on what we mentioned earlier, the key behavioral indicators, which is related to strengthening the humanitarian system of the company. She is developing expertise in women leadership as a rising talent of Women's Forum. She provides also specialized coaching on Heartificial. When I saw the first time, I had to read it again. Heartificial intelligence. So it is really the concept of cultivating leadership skills from the heart through subtle techniques. She has published on the subject in Harvard Business Review France and Forbes France. Let me add also that Gila received a prestigious award, International Thought Leaders for Distinction. It was in 2021 by MICO Leadership Group for her coaching work with organizations. MICO is about measuring excellence in employees' science in companies and organizations. Personally, I met Gila actually last year. That was last year when we were in the Peter Drucker Forum, and she was on a panel that I really liked. Like the panel was about transformation and performance, and it was amazing. And then later on in that evening, we sat at the same dinner table, and I was asking Gila first, telling her that I so much enjoyed her presentation on stage. And I was saying, I have something that is called Transformation Talk. We'll be delighted to have her joining us for Transformation Talk. And she said yes on the spot. Three months ago, I reached out to her. And today we are really privileged to have Gila with us to have this great session. So welcome, Gila.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Tahiro, for inviting me. And I want to say hello to all the hundreds of people who are here and who are expecting a little bit more to better understand how situational intelligence can help your professional life. What you need to know is that situational intelligence is part of those new intelligences in order to better understand refine from a behavioral point of view to apply when you want to better understand the soft skills approach. Let me share my PowerPoint in order for you to have some clear idea of what I'm saying. So how could we better understand what is this notion of situational intelligence? So my objective today is to present only two tools. There are many about situational intelligence and having you better understand these concepts in order for you to begin getting into this new form of intelligence. What Tahiro didn't mention is that I'm coming from the world of theater. And you will see that situational intelligence is also linked with the notion of improv that we have in theater in order to be really, I would say, conscious of unexpectation. And unexpectation not meaning hazard, but unexpectation meaning things that I cannot even imagine a probability that it could happen. So be ready to the unexpected. I'm going to give you an example. The difference between the unexpected and the hazard is that the hazard can be predicted. If I have a hat and I put my hand, because I already put in the hat 3 balls, a green, a yellow, and a red, if I put my hand in this hat, I have a probability to get 1 out of the 3 colors. But on the contrary, if I'm in the unexpected, if I put my hand in the hat, I may find ball with glitters, a ball white, a ball, it's like COVID. And for organization, this faculty of getting ready for improv really now is something that we get more and more. And it comes from the willingness of adding from KPIs that we all know, the key performing indicators, the KBIs that is based on this notion of behavior. How can we frame the proper behavior in order not only to say what is right and what is wrong, but on the contrary, what is efficient and also what could mean a notion of fulfillment, of embodiment of the organization values. And this is a real thing that organizations today have to think in advance in order to give some hints to employees to have the proper behavior. So today we have key behavior coming along with KPIs. So first of all, let me get into this notion of situational intelligence in a more concrete way. I would define situational intelligence that way. It's everything I know when I don't know. Everything I know when I don't know, which means it's a sort of an spontaneous, intuitive intelligence that will allow me to try to be creative and trying to shape things. The problem is, if you didn't develop the situational intelligence, sometimes time for the intuition to come, you're losing time. So that's why situational intelligence will help you to really discover some situations that are unexpected, but also trying to find the right behavior. And as I said, the notion of KBIs you will see include behavior that will be developed through situational intelligence, but also through emotional intelligence, relational intelligence, those new competencies that are developed not only for soft skills, that I don't like, the word soft as if they were not as, serious as the hard skills, but I would say something that are more subtle, because it links with our humanity. So let's try to get and dive into our topic and try to develop those 2 tools and developing situational intelligence. So now let's try to go on this notion of first tool for situational intelligence. The first tool I would like to develop with you is called the sociogram. So the sociogram is something that has been developed by Michel Crozier, who is a French psychotherapist and who really have been developed this notion of systemic approach. I'm sure that a lot of you know the systemic approach that really is looking not only at the individual part of the system, but the system making the individual, the culture of a company, for example, and the habits, and also the way people are fitting in the system. So the sociogram is extremely interesting and easy to do and will help with situational intelligence. Michel Crozier realized that, in fact, if you can map your environments, things become more clear and you will know better what is the stake in terms of interaction. So if you want to strengthen your influence, for example, and if you want to try to better understand the cooperation in transitional context, then Michel Crozier is really a book that you need to read. that he wrote, the sociological analysis of organizations. So the goal of the sociogram is to decrypt the strategy of different actors, not only from the visible part of the organization, the structure, processes, the systems, but also the informal dynamics. And in informal dynamics, of course, there will be politics. There will be things that rationally doesn't make sense. But whenever you're discovering, you're unveiling those different strengths, you see that in fact things become extremely clear. So you will better be sensitive to the dynamics at play, to power games and dominant principles. Let me explain that. The sociogram is very easy to do, and I strongly advise you to do one for you. How do you do that? Very easy. You make on a piece of paper a bubble with me, okay, your name on it. And then you will put 4 to 6 actors. The first sociogram doesn't have to be huge. You know, when I'm training or I'm coaching some people, and when they have to get a new job, then we are making a huge sociogram, because the stake is, how am I fitting into my environment? But here, for the first time, just try to make a bubble on which you put your name, and then put 4, 5, 6 actors that are frequent people, like people that you're working or interacting with daily. And then you will put an arrow from your bubble towards the other bubble, to the bubble of your assistant or your hierarchy, and you will qualify this arrow. You will put a plus if you have good relationship, a minus if you have, you know, problems with this person, and an equal if you don't exactly know what this relationship is about. Let's say that you never spoke to the person, or you're not sure about what you feel about this person, or let's say that you never went in depth about this relationship. So plus, minus, equal. You put one arrow from your bubble to the other bubble, and you put an arrow coming from the bubble, let's say to your assistant or to your hierarchy, towards yourself, saying, what is the relationship this person has toward me? And of course, once you finish this, that will be, of course, link into the person and your relationship. You will have to do the same in between the people. And then that's going to be interesting, because you will see allies coming. Because let's say that if this assistant doesn't get along with the other, and the other assistant doesn't get along with this might affect a third part. So by mapping like this, you will begin to have a better sense of what are the relationships inside of my environment. And I would like to do a little game with you. And this game is something that actually Michel Crozier worked on. It was the first case he worked on. And this is the story of this brand. It's a shampoo brand who developed a new shampoo. And this shampoo was the worst failure of all time. And, you know, Michel Crozier, you know, in the past was an intern, and he needed to have, you know, a certain case to be graduated. And so he worked on this case. Basically, he tried to do, you know, inquiry in order to ask questions to the different people. He asked questions to the head of the shampoo salon, to the hairdresser, to the shampoo girls, to the people at the marketing section, to the scientists behind the shampoo. So the only thing very specific that this shampoo has is that for the first time, very good quality, but for the first time, this shampoo was dedicated to get a percentage to the shampoo people, the shampoo girls. You know, the woman who is making simply the shampoo before the hairdresser do the haircut. Okay, so you come from France, so it's mostly shampoo girls, and we also have mostly hairdresser at that time that were men hairdresser. So basically, we had something that was an inquiry that Michel Crozier was doing in order to understand what is at stake in terms of relationship. So he's going to ask a first question. Okay, so the first question will be towards, well, let's say the head of the salon. Okay, hi, and I would like to know what about this shampoo, do you put the shampoo on the window of the hair salon in order to promote it? Because it's such a failure that we don't understand. Maybe you didn't put it in the window. Answer from the boss of the hair salon. My little boy, why did you ask? Okay, this shampoo girl shampoo is none of my business. Okay, so I have no space in the window of my hair salon to promote shampoo girl shampoo. So please don't ask me anything again regarding this. I have something else to do. Okay, so what Michel Crozier did was the relationship between the head of the hair salon and the shampoo girl doesn't seem to be so positive. So he's going to put a little minus toward it. Then he's going to go to interview the shampoo girl, asking them, okay, so what about this shampoo? Do you sell them or do you talk to the client about it? And the shampoo girl is saying, oh, yes, I love this shampoo. It's so beautiful, making hair beautiful. I love this shampoo. And I, of course, test the shampoo on all my clients. And the clients say, this is great, but they don't buy it. Okay. So now I'm going to ask the person in the chat box who will go the first, okay, to ask a question to the hairdresser or to the marketing people from the brand. Come on. You can do it. You can ask a question in order to be clarified about the interaction between shampoo girl, the hairdresser, between the head of the salon, between the marketing department, between the scientists. So I'm asking you who are watching me, please write a question you, if you were Michel Crozier, ask in order to understand what is wrong in the relationship in the sociogram. Come on, I'm reading you. Tell me how you promote your shampoo to clients. Oh, Maria Rose, excellent question. Let's do the shampoo girl. Oh, I promote it very well. I say that the hair are so smooth, very and rich quality, that it's all, very natural. There is nothing chemical. And I really insist on the organic thing. Another question from Patrick. How did we come to choose this brand of shampoo? Let's ask this question to the hairdresser. My dear Patrick, this is an Italian. My dear Patrick, you have to understand that I'm the expert of the shampoo. The shampoo girl doesn't have any studies. She doesn't know anything about hair. So I don't know. I'm asking the same question than you, Patrick. How do we come to choose this brand of shampoo who is working with a non-expert person? And here's Paul asking, what are the benefits of this shampoo? Well, Paul, if we're asking, let's say, the person who created the shampoo or the marketing seller, he would say, this is the best shampoo of all time. We don't understand why it's not sold. We made tons of experience on rats in order to see what type of hair do they have. So it seems to be a very good quality product. So did one of you understand where is the nod? Anybody understand where is the nod with all the answers I made? How come there is a wrong relationship towards people that really make this failure happen? When I mean by nod, I mean that you see that the product will not be able to be properly sold because there is someone with wrong relationship who will always have what I'm calling a nuisance power. And this nuisance, yep, Maria was exactly the hairdresser. The hairdresser will feel so humiliated that those women, shampoo girls, had the privilege to have a percentage. Exactly, David, that immediately things will be stopped each time. And the clients will also be afraid to lose their precious hairdresser, who is the expert. So they will not buy because they will buy a product that will be recommended by the hairdresser. You're all very strong. Thank you very much for your participation. So if we have to do the sociogram, this is the type of sociogram we can make. You see, we have the director of the salon that has equal, almost negative to the shampoo girl. Shampoo girl like the director of the salon because they want to be hired, okay? The hairdresser have very negative emotion and relationship towards shampoo girl, but very positive to the director. The director like the hairdresser because they really want She really wants to keep the hairdresser as an expert. And the client really enjoy the hairdresser relationship compared to the shampoo girl, who is for her simply someone who will, wash her hair. So why am I saying that? Is that once you're doing a sociogram, you will see that you will have some negativity coming from somewhere. And this is what I'm calling the nod, which means this part I need to work. The sociogram is not stopping here. Sociogram is also a way to distribute powers to people. So I would say the most visible power in an institution, in an organization, is what we are calling the decision power, the power of go, power of no go. Power of go is what? Is the power of hiring or, throwing away. So the director has all the power. But if you dig a little bit, there are other power, and here are the other power. Power of information, people who are very close to information. Usually they are not at the top of their organization. This is people who are really having information from the ground. So that's something that you need to isolate on your sociogram in order to visualize, okay, this person knows the clients because this person is directly linked to the clients. He got precious information. That might be my power information. Who has the power information here? The hairdresser. The hairdresser knows a lot about the clients. The second, so we said power of decision, power of information, power of networking. Some people in companies have the way to get really networked with people. They know they are not afraid to talk. They're a little bit extrovert. They're friends with everybody. Those people are key in sociogram. They know a lot. They even know more things than you when you have someone missing in your team. And you ask them, oh, yes, she got married and she had now a nice apartment. And wow, okay, those people need to be identified as well. Power of decision, power of information, power of networking. Fourth power, power of expertise. The power of expertise is the power of people you cannot do without. I'm going to give you a classical example. IT people. Let's say that you are not developed a positive relationship with IT people. Well, maybe if you have a problem with your computer, maybe it's going to last a little longer than people who have befriending them because they don't know you. So you will have to wait until your computer is working again. And the fifth power that you need to identify in your sociogram is the power of nuisance. Power of nuisance is a power for people who will deal with egos, deal with politics, and will have to be identified in a sociogram. Here, of course, power of nuisance is coming from the hairdresser. So I will offer you to do this sociogram when you will be home. Take a time to go ahead and create the sociogram with 4, 5, 6 critical actors to your ecosystem in order to better understand what is my relationship to them, what is the relationship they have with me, and what type of relationship do they have all together. As I said, plus is cooperation, equal is neutral, and minus is tensions. Don't forget to identify the 5 types of power: decision power, information power, networking power, expertise power, and nuisance power. This is my very first tool in order to develop your situational intelligence. Let's go now for the tool number 2, which is based on optimalist communication. So what is optimalism? Optimalism comes from Tal Ben-Shahar, T-A-L, further Ben, B-E-N, further Shahar, S-H-A-H-A-R, Tal Ben-Shahar, who is an expert in positive psychology. I'm putting it in the chat box. So Tal Ben-Shahar, in order for you to know exactly how to spell that. And Tal Ben-Shahar is the Harvard University happiness professor. He developed positive psychology to the point of becoming the most popular Harvard University class. And I had the chance to take his class, and he was the one to invent the word optimalism. It's a combination between optimism and realism, showing that you can combine both. We are not into a naive optimism that would be, in fact, positivism. On the contrary, we are very realistic, but in our decision tree, we are having a branch that might be also positive. Usually, and this is a default by our brain, we used to plan things as if things would not happen right, like very negative. With optimalism, you will see things more realistically because you will also, in your planification, take the time to go ahead with a positive branch. So what is optimalist communication? Is to develop a certain level of perception regarding the way you understand not only verbal and what the person is saying, but non-verbal and how does the person sound and how the person express himself or herself. You know, and this is a principle that all people who are working in communication know, you know that communication basically is only 7% linked to words, which means that what you're saying will only be retained through 7%. People will not remember more than 7% of what you're saying. So 93% depend on your nonverbal. I'm going to give you an example. If you say, yes, darling, I love you, the person in front of me might understand the contrary because the tone of my voice, facial expression is showing the contrary of what I'm saying. So nonverbal will always be linked with what I'm saying and will always be detected by others first, only after what I'm saying will be analyzed. So for an optimalist communication, we will have to always remember what I'm calling the 5 pillars. The 5 pillars are those one. First of all, you have to know that you will be detected and you are detecting others by your capacity to be anchored. The capacity of being anchored is how your body is perceived. I'm going to give you an example. You see that I'm trying to stand straight, not too straight. Otherwise, you will think that I'm afraid. I might be afraid, but I'm showing you. So not too straight and not too relaxed. Otherwise, you will think that I'm not very, professional. So when you're standing, it's your capacity of, holding your body and having your body exactly in terms of weight on the same leg. You need to have the same weight on the 2 legs, not more weight on one leg or another. When you are in digital, for example, be careful not to make some bothering with gestures, with moves, for example, moving, and that's what I'm calling the skateboarding, with your chair, for example. You need to always remember that the anchorage when you're in digital depend also on lighting. I saw that I have a little problem of lighting right now. I'm sure you saw it. But what I'm doing is I try to be as discreet as I can and put the light again in order for you to see me clearly. So that's the anchorage. The anchorage is number 1, because people will first detect if you're able with your body to share something. Again, what you need to remember is that you don't want to hide anything. You want to be sincere. The stake of communication, the goal of communication is not efficiency, it's authenticity, it's sincerity. That's what is optimalist communication. So the anchorage will always be the text in order to see if the person is aggressive in the anchorage or if the person is very submissive. And you will see that in job interviews, for example, the way the person enter, and open the door will be analyzed, because if it's not assertive enough, people might not be hired, even if he's a bright brain, even if he's the most intelligent person, simply because with the body, we cannot see any charisma. Charisma comes from a good anchorage. Second, of course, is gestures. So what to say about gestures? Well, I'm sure, when you have to present, you wonder the question, what shall I do with my hands? Very good question and very difficult to answer. Well, no matter what, you should not, for an optimalist communication, come with some systemic approach. So anything that would be repetitive, such like the soaping, the soaping as if you were with your soap, just washing your hands. So the soaping, hi, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk to you about, if you do that, people will think you're talking about budget or money. Okay, so no soaping, no triangle. Sometimes you have politicians who are doing a lot of things like this. No triangles. No, of course, closing your hands or your arms, because people will say that you are closed. So this is not good gestures. Gestures will be preferred higher. And when you do situational intelligence and when you have to manage something unexpected, if your body is closed, people will understand that you're afraid. Again, maybe you're afraid, but for the sake of others, for the politeness of optimalist communication, you will have to show a body that is facing adversity without having something that will be too, too tense. Third pillar, anchorage gesture. Third pillar is the eye contact. Eye contact is extremely important because we are listening through our eyes. Yes, I can affirm that to you. We are listening through our eyes. If someone is knocking at the door and say, Gila, can I talk to you for a second? If I say, yes, go ahead. And if I'm not turning my head, looking at the person will not think that I'm listening. So we are listening with our eyes. The signal that I'm listening to someone, that I'm respecting someone, go through our eyes. And this is even more important when you're doing things digital. Because in digital, if you want people to think you are looking at them, don't look at them. If you want people in digital, if you want people to think you're looking at them, don't look at them. You need to look at the camera. And this is something important to remember. The voice is also very important. We need to have intonations. We need to have a certain level of speed in order for people to be able to follow you and create followership. But you also need to have a certain moment of silence in order to shape the speech. Silence will also allow people to take notes and will make sometimes some teasing effects. Silence doesn't mean full emptiness. On the contrary, silence is here to really shape a way you're talking. So the speech actually will exist if you allow people to enter in your speech, which is giving silence. So for me, this tool is extremely important in time of situational intelligence being developed of unexpectation. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a little game and I would like to read some reactions. So this game is very simple. I'm going to ask you which pillar am I using wrong when I'm talking to you right now. So I would like to talk to you about situational intelligence. What is very important is to understand the importance of the 5 pillars dimensions. And yes, anchorage. Okay, 1 point for eye contact, anchorage. Oh yeah, you're so good. Okay, it's right. You know, don't underestimate anchorage. I had a colleague of mine, he went to the dentist, okay, and he was like this in digital for all the meeting. And because he was like this, people thought, oh, he's so bored with the entire meeting. So sometimes simply by having a wrong anchorage, people will imagine that what you're doing is something wrong. Okay, let's try to do another pillar that is not working. So I would like to tell you how happy I am. And I would like to tell you that it's such a privilege to talk to you today and to really feel the passion, the way you react. And I do think that, yes, gestures, here, see, for what I'm saying, it's too embodied and it could tire the people. If, for example, in the unexpected, you have people who are what I'm calling kinetograph. You know, kinetograph is people who are miming what they said. Sometimes it's too embodied. It could be tiring for people. So you're right, all of you, great, to have guessed the gestures. It's already time to do a conclusion. So what I want you to remember in terms of unexpected, to remember situational intelligence, which is knowing what you don't know, and the notion of KBIs in order to work on behavior indicators. So in order for you to better lead with purpose, try to map and create a sociogram to better understand your environments, and to be empowered, work on your communication. The optimalist communication is always trying to understand, especially when you're doing a talk, what this silence of the other means. When you become a good communicator, you should never be focused on yourself, but more about the noise of the silence that people are making. Are they reacting? Are they sleeping? So you saw, I tried with my little question to see if you're still awake. From what I see, you are well awake. So I want to thank you very much for your active listening, and I will have Tahirou moderate the question and answer.
Thank you so much, Gila. I was listening and I was kind of like hung, like from the beginning to the end, were like unexpected and really, really great insight here. So let's go with the first one, Gila. When you were mentioning the different powers, in the world of COVID, when everybody went home, how do you see that dynamism or the power play? How do you know who has this power and how do people build that? Or were people building it in the time when we were kind of busy in COVID world, and some of it stayed people working from home. That one aspect that I would like you to help us understand.
Thank you for your question. It's a very good question indeed. When you are live interaction with someone, you can work with facial, work with interaction. And that's true that when you're home, when it's digital, it's difficult. It's more difficult. Well, of course, my first answer will be try to force people to have videos. If you have videos, you can really work better on facial expression, and it could give you some very good insights to know exactly what type of interaction they can have. Now I'm going to give you concrete examples. If you're making a project, let's say that you're trying to have this project made and you try to have an interaction with all of the people, but you see that someone is not reacting, someone is not playing the game, someone is reluctant, someone is not answering on time. Stop wondering if the person likes you or not. This is also something that I want to tell all of you. Most of the time, obstructive behavior is not against you. It's for the person. So it's more a question of selfishness than a question of being against. It's more a question of being for me than against you, okay? So by having this principle, wonder, okay, that might be a power of nuisance, or that might not be a power of nuisance. Let's try to think about politics. Let's try to see if this person is not involved in a different project. And let's try to see if the interest of the person is somewhere else. So that's how you can map your environment and better understand, following the delays of answer, following the non-willingness to be part of a project, following sometimes a delay of answering, especially when there is no video. Sometimes when you're asking a question and the person taking a long time to answer, that might be that the person hesitates, that might be that the person is reluctant, that might be showing a signal that you need to take. And what could be the solution? Rephrase, dare to ask. Rephrasing, an emotional rephrasing could be, this silence might mean something. Why are you reluctant? This is what we are calling empathetic rephrasing. Empathetic rephrasing or emotional rephrasing is really trying not to focus on what the person is saying, but how the person is saying it. Example, if you have the video and the person is saying, how dare you say that? You see the, how dare you say that? You see, if you only have it on the phone, it might be really difficult to understand it. But see, because of the eyebrows, the lip going up, you see a sort of a disgust that coming. Need to do an emotional rephrasing, saying that, oh, from what I see, you're not really into this question. So what is bothering for you? And this, you dig in order to, on your sociogram, be able to put plus, minus, equal. Now, another thing that I want to tell you is that a sociogram is something alive, which means you will not always having the same relationship. On the contrary, it's something that evolve and that needs to be showing you, okay, the next time I need to go on lunch, I don't know if it's going to be a good surprise. Don't forget to always separate the be and the do, the person from the problem, but oh well. But I need to dig into this relationship. I know that the power of information is on this person. I need to have lunch and I need to establish a connection. So that's how you're going to get slowly but surely to better be inserted in your environment and better understanding from an intelligence, situational intelligence point of view.
Yeah, we have a few more questions coming in. Let's get the next two. The next two, one is, could you name any specific KBIs relating to situational intelligence? Example, active listening.
Oh, yes, there are
That,
many. There are many, many. And thank you for your question. So we can mention negotiation. We can mention the active listening. We can mention also the capacity of equal interaction in a meeting, for example. We can mention also the quality of doing negative feedback, but respectfully. The quality of strategically answering passivity, aggressivity, manipulation. So which means to be briefed or to be coached on how to handle obstructive behavior. So all these are really behavior that should, of course, correspond to KBIs.
Yeah, the next one, which is actually a question that usually people will have, like, what is the difference between situational intelligence and emotional intelligence? Because we hear a lot of the EQ, and like, what is the difference between the two, or if any connection between them?
So I would say that emotional intelligence is part of situational intelligence. If you want to develop your situational intelligence, you need to take in account the emotional intelligence. But I'm going to give you a very concrete case. You know, now HR are making more and more, as you said very well, Tahiru, more and more tests to hire people on EQ, emotional quotient. And sometimes you have actors like me who are coming to play a role, the role of, the desperate colleague or the tyrannic hierarchy. And so here we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. I'm going to play an emotion, and we will see how this person will understand the need behind the emotion. But the case will be known, which means that the person who is about to be hired, the person who wants to have this job will know that the case is this one. You will have an employee who will be sad after having known that there is a disease in his or her family. How do you handle that? Then I play the employee. Situational intelligence is everything that caught you by surprise. So it's a very different. Emotional intelligence is you know the situation, you identify it, and you link into the need. Situational intelligence, you don't know the situation. So let's say that you are inside of a, of a normal discussion, and suddenly September 11th arrived, and you see everybody leaving the building. You see everybody watching, their phone, their screens. So, okay, that's situational intelligence. So situational intelligence is really everything you know when you don't know. It's when you're caught by surprise, it's almost like reflex. When you suddenly you have COVID, like a bacteria, which is something transparent that will force you to stay locked in your apartment. Hello. Well, guess what? This is what will happen. And that could destroy your organization. How do you react? So situational intelligence incorporates emotional intelligence, but is very different because you have the surprise effect that is taken in account.
Awesome. And I like the example that you gave at the beginning when the one where you give it true balls and you know the color, you put your hands and then you know which one might come. But the other example that you gave where you don't know what is inside. So you put your hands and then any ball comes in and then you need to react to that. Another question that is
just to finish on situational, really situational intelligence is unpredictable. So no probability will even be applicable to situational intelligence. Sorry.
Yeah, great. And there is a question from Fernando Correa, and he's asking how to change the anchorage for others in the virtual session. So any advice? Let's say you come in a virtual session, the anchorage, how do you change it?
So to have a good anchorage, and I hope that everybody will remember that, you simply always have to remember that you need to stop to be too close. Otherwise, of course, you see here, my screen is cutting my head, not too far. Otherwise, people will say, she's really not involved in what she's saying. You really always need to have a little bit of distance between the tip of your head and the screen. This is a good anchorage, okay? You need to be centered, well lighted, and you need to be sure that when you're doing any type of gesture, we will see a little bit, not too much. You saw that by me doing it too much, it's not working, but a little bit in order for you to see that you have some freedom of expression. So that's why when you have a table that will be forcing you to be like this, it's very YouTuber, hi everybody. So it's really too, I would say, intimate. You don't want that because it's really not official. If you want to make it official, you will have to take the right thing, think a little bit of air between the tip of your head and the screen, so you will look a little bit formal, and you can have moments where you're going to go closer in order for you to make a point, and sometimes where you're going to be a little bit more further in order to maybe listen quietly to an answer. And when you listen to the answer, always think to look at the person who is asking the question, because when you look at the question, you need to be sure not only to understand the question, but to look at the nonverbal of the person. But when you answer, be sure to look at the camera for the person to think you're looking at him or her.
Awesome. There is another one from Anthony Jones, and it is two questions. Basically, the first one is, if communication is primarily about authenticity, sorry, is it somewhat inauthentic to control your body language? Because we said you need to be authentic and then you need to control your body language. So is it not contradictory? And then the second part of the question, I think you answered it. Are sociograms context dependent? And you said it was dynamic. So I think you already answered it in the previous question. So going back to it, are you controlling your body? Is it authentic by trying to control it?
So thank you, Anthony, because you touched the paradox of good communication. And I will answer you by a very strange sentence. No one wants to see you in pajama. Again, no one wants to see you in pajama, Anthony. And you know why? Because you're very natural in your pajama in the morning, but no one wants to see you natural. We want to see you authentic. That's different. Which means that to be authentic, you need to find a way to be polite, not to eat with your hands, even if you like to eat with hands when no one is watching you, but finding a way to have spoon or to have, knife and fork, because it will be viewed as correct. I was coaching a manager one day who was like this all the time and said, well, we were going to talk about budgets, talk about millions. Well, there is no stake. And he was very relaxed. And the team was so nervous about this anchorage. But when I was talking to the manager, he was saying, well, I'm natural like this. I'm authentic like this. But again, authenticity doesn't mean natural. If I'm standing like this, it doesn't mean that I like to stand like this, but I know that because you're watching me, I need to have the decency of authenticity for you to project things that will be neutral. And if I like to stay like this, I know that the image I will reflect will make you think that I'm too loose and a little bit too natural to be true. So authenticity is a little bit like, a funambula, someone who's walking on a rope very, very, far in the sky and saying, oh, that's so simple. I've done that. It's so simple. It's not that simple. Authenticity is a work, because when you're looked at, you are detected, you are interpreted, you are judged. If you're doing that while you're talking about budget, so let's talk about this million. People might detect this signal, scratching your nose, as something that will say that this is a lie. This is not true, or you're not at ease with this budget. So everything will be detected. So that's why what you're saying about authenticity is crucial for people to understand that it's work. Communication, optimalist communication, it's work to find this natural authenticity, sincerity in front of others. It's a little bit like makeup, and I'm saying that maybe for girls who know that, the nude. To look spontaneous and fresh, as if there was no makeup. How many makeup do you put to look neutral and natural? I'm telling you. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much, Gila. It's so energizing here. We can go on, and we only have 1 hour. So let us try to bring it to a closure. We are really, really thankful to have you here. I have a few questions that were asked. We'll share it with you at the end.
First of all, thank you so much for your lovely comments and for your gratitude. It's very powerful for me to have those positive, remarks. And what I want to share with you is that there is a part of fun that situational intelligence is mentioning that you should allow yourself to do. To do your sociogram, take a little bit of distance, when you're doing it, of course, you can do it very seriously, but sometimes try, as a theater actor, to play someone you might have a minus with, and try to think you were him or her talking about yourself and say, oh, this one, I cannot see him. and ask some question. Why do you cannot see this person? Why is it so negative? And the more you will be able to switch the roles, the more you will realize humanity. Even if you don't like this person, even if you think this person is awful, try to be one in your lifetime in his or her shoes in order to understand the point of view. Because next time you will have, especially if this person has a certain form of power, next time you will have interaction, you will find a way to connect. And this is the goal. The goal is conviction, not to convince in a very forceful way, but convince from Latin etymology, cum vincere, which means winning together. So if you really want to convince in professional life, try to always remember that you need to do that in the both relationship, thanks to interdependency. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gila. And people say success in transformation, success in strategy and implementation, it's about people. And here, you sharing us this insight that allows us to understand people in our ecosystem and being able to cope with that and actually helping us to achieve the results that we want was very delightful. So thank you so much. Thank you all, and looking forward to have you in upcoming sessions. Have a great one. Thank you.
Thank you, Tahiru. Bye-bye, everybody.